What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Screen Time Continuum. I'm Nick, and I'm joined with the gentleman, as always, Keelan. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Ready to pod, in fact. I mean,
All
not
right.
something I get to say often because sometimes I'm not.
Glad. All right. Yeah, no, I know. I hear that. Sometimes I'm not as well. We got Mike here, too. What's going on, dude?
Um, I'm good. I'm want to do whatever it said. He said he wanted to do because I wasn't really listening.
Oh,
And
yeah. He says he wants a pod. Do you want a
oh,
pod?
okay, whatever that means. I want to do that too.
All right. Sounds
Yeah.
good. That's what we're going to do. So you're both in luck. Thanks to everybody for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. Hope you're having a wonderful evening or whenever you're checking us out. Be sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button. It would really help us out trying to build out the audience, and we can't do it without your help. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Rings of Power, Season 2, Episode 7. 7, 7. Yeah, we just got done watching. Shut up. We just got done watching it, and it's been on for a couple days, so I think we can do without any spoiler warnings. But we're gonna have a discussion about it tonight. Talk about things that we liked, talk about things that we didn't like, and maybe come up with a consensus. We only have one episode left, so things are really starting to heat up, and I'm sure that Mike is super enthusiastic about all of it. So. Before we get into any specific details, we always do the first impressions first. So, let's give Mike the first impression since he seems so happy about this episode. Mike, what did you think? Episode 7.
I thought this episode was actually pretty trash. Um, it's supposed to be the big battle episode. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there was no pyroclastic flow this time to
Right.
burn everybody's faces off, and then nobody gets hurt. But
Unfortunately.
right. But the problem with this particular battle was it wasn't coherent. There was no it just didn't make sense. Like if if the enemy is charging or you're charging the enemy and they reveal they have a captive, why the hell would you stop in the middle of a charge to negotiate when you can just keep going, go right through those ranks, rescue that person before they have a chance to get her out of the cage? You know, we'll get into it all. We'll get
But
into it.
you obviously missed the fact that there was a sword to her throat and they were already poking her with it.
Uh-huh. No, I actually didn't miss that.
Oh,
I
you
just don't
sure?
think that it would have made a difference.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll get into detail about that later on when we talk about the details, but we're still a first impression. So, Keelan, what did you think about this episode?
I can give first impressions on Mike's opinion first.
Oh, yeah. Do
Um,
that.
Oh, personal attack.
Yeah.
pew 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 pew. My first impression of this episode, I wasn't so critical of it as Mike was. I was waiting for certain shoes to drop, and they did. I definitely got the answer to some things that I asked in the group chat, but I kind of had already known that I wasn't tripping. Um, I do have an issue, and I think I had the same issue last season. They're getting to the end, and they focus on one aspect of a three-story project, and you only have one episode left. So the next episode, you're going to split all the different stories and get all of that, which means some of the stories just didn't get told in full this season.
Mm.
Mostly the Isatar and Nori situation over there. Numenor is kind of left feet up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Where's Isildur right now?
Right. Where's Isildur? Like I think we're getting that in next episode, but that's still
I
not
don't.
Numenor.
I know where
Yeah.
he is.
Where is he?
He's looking for Will or whatever that kid's name is.
The
Oh, in
Theo
Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Will Byers in the Upside Down. That's where he
yeah.
is. Okay. Fair enough.
That's
That's what,
funny as
what
hell.
What else, Keelan?
Um, but as far as the battle and everything that they tried to show in this one, I mean, I didn't have as much of a problem with it as Mike. I am wondering why Mike has such an issue with it. Was it just not enough
I know
mayhem
why.
for him? But I have an idea why too. But I'm just kind of poking the bear, see if it comes to life out of hibernation. But yeah, yeah. For the most part, I didn't hate this episode. I understood it a little bit. But I wish somebody would punch Sauron in his shit for once. That would be great.
Yeah, that's true. I think that it's because Mike is watching a certain bespectacled 50-year-old nerd that hates everything. And so,
Incorrect, actually.
nah. Oh, okay. Because I saw his take on it too, and everything that happens is always the worst episode yet. Everything is awful.
No, because I didn't think the entire season was dookie.
I know you didn't. I know you have a lot more nuance than he does.
So wait,
but
are you guys telling me that there's a real life comic book guy that has a podcast?
Yes.
Oh man, of course.
There's a lot actually, but
there's too many of them actually.
Specifically, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know who I did think there was somebody else who had a really good review of it, and I thought I talked to Keelan about it a little bit. But the Critical Drinker had a really good review on this particular episode, and I wasn't gonna really use what he said, but I thought he did a great job because what he did was he compared the Rohan battle from the Two Towers to this,
Helm's
and
Deep.
he gave,
You mean Helm's Deep?
Yeah, Helm's Deep. Yeah. He used that battle as a comparison to what made that battle so great and what made this one so bad. And I thought he did a really good job shedding light on that for people who didn't really understand the difference in how to portray a really good battle on a large scale. And he made really great points.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to use it, but he did that. And it wasn't, and I know who you're talking about. You thought I was listening to, but I actually didn't even watch his review.
Yeah, no, I've stopped listening to him after the millionth Star Wars is Dead episode or show that he does. Okay, look, I think
though?
it is dead, but you can't make he's just grifting off of that for it's over. They had their novelty, and now it's just at the point where I know exactly what you guys are going to say about everything. And, I think we've fallen victim to that too. We've been overly critical about stuff. But the point is with our show is that we purposely review bad things just to do it. And we like to do it. I think they're trying to sway a lot of opinion on stuff. And most of the time they're right about things. But that just you can't. If I can predict what your take is going to be before I even watch your shit, then you're just being repetitive.
Well, I think our next show is going to be all about reviewing the reviewers.
Oh, yeah. You know what? We could definitely A-log them at one point, and then we'll really get in trouble. Yeah.
They'll say, I'm down for that.
No, you're not. They'll send their stupid army after us.
I was just about to say, let's get ridiculed by a bunch of people doing the same thing we're doing. Giving
you mean we'll get engagement?
We will. There you go. In other words, yes, we'll get engagement.
Hey, so now you guys know Mike spearheaded our big break.
Yes, exactly. Starting a flame war with the nerds online. Yeah. No, look, my first impressions of this were I thought it was a little bit underwhelming. I didn't necessarily love everything about it, but I will say this. The battle was 10 times better than anything we saw in The Long Night. And it shouldn't have been.
What's The Long Night?
Season 8 of Game of Thrones, the 3rd episode against the Night King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this, yeah, right, exactly. I think that this was a lot better than that. And, if you wanted to pair it against Helm's Deep, I think that that's kind of an unfair parallel because of how great that battle scene is. I think it rivals a lot of battle scenes in any movie or any TV show.
But keep in mind, this show has a bigger budget than every other show and those movies. I think all of them combined.
It has a bigger budget over 5 seasons. So you're talking about 50 hours of production versus 12. I don't think that that's another fair comparison. I think that, and you talk about inflation as well. The Peter Jackson movies cost a lot of money. It's just that much money isn't that much money now. Look, I love the Peter Jackson trilogy. I think that they're amazing. They're pretty much perfect in my opinion, and I'm not going to take anything away from that. But just because they exist doesn't mean that you can't like other stuff. And I think that a lot of these people who are so harsh on this season in particular, season 1 was snacks. We all talked about it. It was awful. Season 2 is better in my opinion, and this battle was not terrible. Now, did it meander a little bit? Yes. Was there a little bit too much going on, or not enough going on? Maybe that's the better way to say it. Yeah. But it was well lit. It had good action. It had some good violence. There was some stakes. So yeah, I can't necessarily be totally mad at it. If I did have a critique, it would be more along the lines of what Keelan said, which is that this episode totally abandons 2 other major plot lines of the season and is probably going to have to try to resolve those plot lines in the next episode while resolving this one. So that's going to be tough. I think that they kind of wasted episode 5 and 6 and probably could have truncated all of that stuff into one episode. So that way we had 3 episodes to resolve everything. As it stands right now, we only have 1 episode left. And I feel like there's way too much story to have any sort of satisfying conclusion to this season. So that would be my critique of it.
Especially considering we're going to have to wait 10 months for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've already decided we're going to review season 3 then. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, we're already in too deep, man.
Say, why wouldn't we? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I want to say, did you take off your galoshes? You thought we were about to be wading in this pool? We going in.
I mean, all of those guys are going to review it. They make tons of money off of it, off of bashing it. So why wouldn't we review it? We might as well. All right. So yeah, mainly this episode focuses around the sacking of Aragion. There's a little bit of tangential storyline here and there, but it all sort of weaves together. We get a little bit more of what Durin and Khazad-dûm is doing. We also get the sort of context in which the reason that the elves and the dwarves sort of break their ties yet again, because Durin does not come to the elves' aid, even though he said that he would. And I like a little bit of that. Obviously, there's a more ancient parity between them, or a disparity between them, as far as their creation goes. But it is nice to see that little bit of context of like, oh, okay, so when you look at the Third Age and you see, Gimli versus Legolas, you kind of understand the resentment between the 2 races. So yeah, where do you want to go first with this, Keelan?
Well, shoot, let's start where they start. Let's start at the beginning with Celebrimbor basically approaching the completion of the 9 rings, everything really except from curing them and holding them in place, assembling the jewels to them, and him gaining some clarity. One that he first thanked Anatar for, only to realize that Anatar is not Anatar. Some things start falling apart, and he realizes that he has been in the presence of Sauron this entire time.
Wow. How could he have known?
There's ways he could have known, but he was overlooking them. Which later in the show, he does admit that he probably willfully overlooked them.
Yeah.
But
I think it is a little bit flimsy. I think they could have worked a little bit harder to have Sauron be more conniving. At this point, he's like a gaslighting boyfriend, which I mean, like, seriously, it's like he just reverses everything and just blames the person. He's like, well, I didn't make you do this. Your insolence is what caused me to make you suffer. And I'm like, whoa, bro, come on, man. That's a really weak reversal there. I feel like if you're a demigod, you might have a more subtle way of turning somebody's opinion, but apparently he's just straight to the gaslighting.
Well, that's what made Celebrimbor's statement about him being the great deceiver so much so he's even deceived himself so powerful and such a hitting line.
I thought that was a great line. I won't even lie. I even told Keelan about that one. That line right there I thought was amazing.
And with Nick's point, it proves like, no, that's legitimately what's happening, so much so that he doesn't even try to buffer his intentions.
Right.
But I will add that this all started when Celebrimbor noticed that there was a jewel, a ruby in fact, missing from Feanor's hammer.
I thought it
Only
started with
for
the mouse.
uh,
It was the
you know
ruby
what?
first.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
think.
it was
Oh,
the ruby first because then he goes to the ground looking for it, and that's when he sees the mouse. And
oh, okay.
then
Right.
over time through the day, probably a couple hours, he realizes that it's all continued to happen, and that's when he asks Sauron, not the first, but I think the second time he comes in. What have you done to me? What's going on?
Oh, he
Throws
also
the
makes the
hammer.
mark. He also makes the mark on the candle to see if it
Yes,
burns, and it doesn't burn.
yes,
Yeah.
right. And then he throws the hammer, which is easily dodged by Sauron. And then he hears all the noise and exits to find out that they are under siege and at war. Um, but Anatar's already told them, or Sauron's already told everybody that Celebrimbor's mind is gone. So when he does finally exit to tell them, hey, Sauron's here. We fucking up. We got to fix this. They're all looking at him like he's nuts because they are on his side.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
I
thought
did.
that was kind of lame too.
Which part?
The fact that they decided to make Anatar or Sauron or whatever the new Lord of Aragion, their loyalty seemed pretty flimsy to me.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I didn't think they even tried to like understand where his mind was when he finally did get out and he was like, nah, this dude is Sauron. I would have been like, wait, what?
Well,
Make it
Yeah.
make sense. You
Yeah.
gotta explain that that's a huge accusation right there.
Well, I think that's the whole point of what was said a couple of times through this season about Sauron's ability, which is once he's gotten in your brain, once you've allowed him to have any level of power over you, he can, as we saw, he can literally control your actions, literally.
Yeah, and you can see that he was also manipulating Murdania
Mhm.
as well, and probably some of the other elves. Yeah, it is a little flimsy. I will say that. I wish that there was probably a little bit more, not tact, would deftness to the writing that would allow for some more subtle manipulations. Because it does seem odd that Celebrimbor just sort of gets mutinied like that, only for everything to turn back to normal once Galadriel shows up. So, even though I figured that everybody in Eregion would have known that Sauron was around, but I guess the only person that knew was the messenger that was sending word to Celebrimbor, and that guy got killed. So nobody knows.
Right. Well, I think that's the thing that is weird to me about these ancient elves that are supposed to be so ingenious and so strong-willed and been around for these thousands of years. Um, I guess we're supposed to just throw that all to caution because Sauron is so old and he's been around since Morgoth was tortured him since the beginning of time, it seems, that he kind of goes under their radar. Like they wouldn't notice that this entity is there or that something is not going the way that it normally goes. That was a little
Yeah,
weird to me. Like I'm
yeah,
I'm almost interested to see in season 3 how they show Sauron interacting with the humans. Because if the elves
right.
are this gullible, then the humans are gonna not only think he's a deity, they're just gonna willfully follow.
Oh, I don't think it takes very much convincing to get the men to take the rings at all. So I think that'll be totally fine. Yeah, I definitely wish that there was a little bit more, not necessarily seek, because you don't want the story to necessarily hit you over the head with an idea, but you do want enough information to infer something. And I think what they wanted us to infer is that the elves have endured such everlasting peace, and that they have totally excised the idea that evil could be back on the rise. And so you have a place like Eregion where they just spend all of their time making art and doing, and doing leisurely activities. They barely have an army, as you
So
can
it's West
see.
Hollywood.
It's just become such a comfortable place that the elves have put away the idea that evil could ever be coming back to Middle Earth. And that does seem foolish, as as peoples who have been there basically since evil has been walking there as well,
Right.
thousands and thousands of years. You would think that, hey, this guy could come back. They are gods after all. They
Right.
don't just die. They always
Gods,
come back.
demigods, they're not human.
Yeah.
Neither are you. So
Right. Yeah, so it would have been nice for them to sort of play up the maybe late stage Rome. That's where I get that impression from where the elves are right now, is that they've just been so comfortable and fat and happy that they don't see the enemy at the gates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I disliked that Sauron made him kill Merdania,
Yeah,
but
he's got
somebody had to
some
go.
he's got some
I didn't take it as he made him do it. I
He
took
did.
it as Sauron did it directly. He just
looked
made it
like
look like he did it.
I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
Apparently he's got some crazy telekinetic powers.
Yeah.
Because he
That
can
we
just
don't.
flick a wrist and make people stab each other.
Look at the
Stabby,
flick of the
stabby.
wrist.
Hey, I was thinking the same thing. But yeah, no, absolutely. That was my point about how strong he is. It's like maybe he's just that strong to where even these ancient entities such as elves and even the dwarves, which is so weird to me. So you have Elrond and Durin, not even Galadriel, not even the king, not even Durin's dad. It's just Durin and Elrond are the only two that are strong-willed enough to see through Sauron's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Well,
even
Durin,
Elrond, not even their mentors.
yeah, no, of course not. And Elrond was wearing Galadriel's ring, although it was around his neck. It wasn't on him. But he obviously has no temptation for it, which is interesting because again, he is half mortal, so you would think that he would feel the pull, but maybe there's something about his more elf-like self. Huh?
Didn't he feel the ring of the one pull of the one ring though?
Yes, he definitely understood
Not in Rings of Power.
Well, see, so the One Ring is basically Sauron pouring all of his malice into it, and what I think these rings of power are just fractions of his evil.
Right.
A little bit of his blood.
Yeah, just a little bit of his blood. It doesn't necessarily corrupt you immediately, but the One Ring is like he pours every essence, like every shred of his essence into that, and that's why it becomes like so easily corrupting.
Makes sense to
Yeah.
me. That's
we got
what
a comment.
Mhm.
Hold on,
Hey,
Ayla
who's
says,
commenting down here?
Ayla,
what's up?
she says, hold up, how are none of you mentioning the death metal music at the end of the show?
We haven't got there
End of the
yet.
show yet.
Yeah, exactly. Was that at the beginning of the episode? Because we really need to make sure we talk about that. Well, you're in luck. We'll talk about it right now. What the hell was that?
I don't know. Stylistic change, different music guy.
I mean, the music guy was already from the last episode was looking like that was right up his alley.
Okay. So maybe that's why he's just like some weird death metal dude.
I'm like, what was it supposed to be? Because there's a hero to save us. But I don't know. I caught it, but I didn't take much note of it. Honestly, I didn't even write it down, but I do remember that watching it, and it was kind of like that's a higher tempo than usual. And I think it's just that. I think they're trying to gear us up to say like the final episode. Ooh, wait till you get there. And I'm sitting there
Get
like
hype. Yeah.
Like, I'm not about to be hyped for this for the next week. I'll see y'all on Thursday when it come out.
Right.
Like I don't. This season is better. It's not good enough to do that. It's not. It's not first season of Power Rangers good. You know what I mean?
Oh, Ayla
wait till you hear the remake.
Ayla said it was orc metal.
It was orc metal.
I like that.
Or talcum.
They could have just.
No, you know what would have been great is if they had used Guar. That would have made sense because they all dress like orcs anyways. That would have been good. But yeah, no, maybe it is orc metal.
Or maybe some Metalocalypse.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Deathlock.
Yeah, there you go.
Deathlock. There you go.
Yep. Well, yeah. So we get this big extended battle. Basically, the battle takes 45 minutes of the show.
Yeah, I mean the battle is most of the show. Let's see. We get because after Celebrimbor first kind of starts to get note of what's going on, but this is before he realizes it's Sauron and he turns on him. Adar's already damming the mountain by blowing up the mountainside or assaulting the mountainside which automatically lets Sauron know, like, yeah, this ain't what you think, sir. And
Yeah.
also, I do have to say, I forget his name. I thought I had the name of the actor, but the guy who's playing Sauron, his confusion face, like, what the fuck is he talking about? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem to me that he's confused about anything. Like he
Oh
kind
no,
of
not
just
at all.
anticipates that all of this was going to happen anyways. And apparently he anticipated that Adar was going to start to abuse his orcs enough for them to want to turn on him, because that's what we start to see in this episode. Um, he keeps sending waves and waves of orcs to their death, and they're, like, his left hand or his right hand man's like, I got a baby at home and I don't necessarily want to die. Could you
Right.
stop sending us to our death? And Adar's like, no. So
Right. No, yeah, Adar, he ain't feeling it. I love you too much to let you become his slaves again. Like, sir, that is not what this looks like.
yeah,
Just so you know. But even other people who were in charge, everybody's kind of doing dirt. King Durin, he sends the diggers and basically tell them take out Disa and Lil Durin. F them, they ain't no way. They decide to, of course, side with Prince Durin and not King Durin. That's what Narvi decides.
yep.
Um,
Well, King Durin is going mad from the ring, and
Yeah.
he's starting again. He is going to unleash the Balrog and Khazak Doom because he keeps wanting to dig further.
mhm.
And I don't even think he needs nobody needs the Mithril right now, right?
No, it's not even about Mithril. He just wants
No.
gold and jewels.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because he was sitting in that room
He's
full of
turned into a
gold.
pirate.
Yeah, a dragon. He's got dragon energy right now. He wants to just lay in a pile of gold for thousands of years.
Right.
Yeah.
But then Elrond comes, and that's when Elrond asks them to fight and to join the war, which we know if they don't show up, there's no need to even drag that out.
No.
But
It's just disappointing because it would have been kind of cool to see an army of dwarves come in. But I understand why they couldn't do that, because they need to have the tension between the elves and the dwarves rekindled.
right.
Yeah.
After we see Merdania die, though, we also see Celebrimbor back creating the rings in his dungeon essentially at this point, and we see that he is chained. Which a little later on we'll see what he does to get them chained, to break them shackles off his wrist so he could dance.
My thought was immediately,
What's that?
just cut your pinky off, dude. What were you doing?
Yeah. Why the thumb?
Why the thumb? The thumb.
Why the
That's
whole thumb?
That was the most important part.
Oh, I mean, he'll never be able to create again. That's what we say.
Never. Yeah. Yeah. Cut the pinky off. You'll be a lot better.
Or just break the wrist.
Right. Yeah. Just break your hands. You got elvish healing. You can, I thought that's what he was going to do, is like take the hammer to his hand or his fingers so that he could just,
something.
Yeah.
Smash all the bones, but he didn't.
Nah, just cut the thumb right off. He didn't even put in any ice or anything.
Maybe he could create a metal finger for himself.
Maybe a metal thumb.
Cyberpunk, a steam hand.
Steampunk Celebrimbor. I like it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's when Elrond goes, and this is the scene that Mike hates when they charge.
Makes a good point. He could have used that. He could have used that device that he cut his thumb off to cut the chain.
I thought that's what he was going to do initially.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a dumb move.
Yeah, I must say we'll see why he did that. Maybe he wants out of the creation game. That's really what it is. He wanted an excuse to never create again.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, you could use it that way, but I think it's probably just kind of dumb writing, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think that it's for any larger reason. I just think that they said, "Oh, he's got shackles on. How do you get your shackle off? Cut your thumb off."
Cut your thumb.
Yeah.
I totally disagree with the decision. But that's when Elrond stops his entire brigade from charging at the enemy lines, pissing Mike off, one, but also going to help try to save Galadriel. He goes and sits down with Adar, and they have a whole discussion about nothing. Because basically Adar is telling them like, "Hey, yo, we got the same enemy. Let's just help each other and find a way for my people not to get killed at the end of it. Thanks.
Why not
And-
just kill him immediately?
Or
Who,
why
Adar
not?
Elrond?
Why not just take him up on the offer and then deal with
I'm
him
thinking take
later?
an offer. Yeah.
Well,
Let's
and,
get
and I
Sauron
get
outta here,
that.
man.
But that's what I'm saying. Once he declined the offer, why not just kill him immediately?
Who kill Adar
No.
Kill
or
Elrond.
Elrond?
Yeah.
Well,
He
you know
he
why.
was in the orc camp.
Well, Mike, come on. What are the 3 rules?
I don't know.
Rabies, quicksand, and
Oh,
he needs to be in the Lord of the
that
Rings,
little
man.
old thing.
Yeah. You know, they could have just
Gotcha.
sent an emissary to do that, and then Adar could have killed the emissary, and that would have been
Yeah.
a more effective way. But they needed to get Galadriel out of her predicament, and that's why they had Elrond kiss her. And I'm sure
That's right.
all
Elrond kissed
the
the girl
geeks,
like it was a little mermaid.
I'm sure all the geeks are so upset about that. Oh my
I was.
God.
They're
They made
upset.
Elrond kiss Galadriel.
They're
Her
upset
Ah!
husband's
because they're
gonna
going to
be
make
very
adaptive.
pissed off about that when he finds out.
Her husband, it doesn't even exist. Who cares?
Right.
It does exist. He was
I
in the
know.
Lord of the Rings. What are you talking about?
All the nerds are going to be upset about this, and they're going to make I forgot what I was going to say, but they're going to make adaptive. Yeah, they're going to make adaptive videos about it that get posted on tube sites.
No, they're just upset because it's like, oh, that never happened and blah blah blah. And yeah, look, I get it, but it's
Let me tell
also
you one
it was
thing.
also a misdirect to get the little brooch in her hand so that she could pick the lock. Could have been done a different way, probably, but you know that was fan service for the shippers out there.
They could have made everybody look the opposite way, and he flung it to her, and she caught it behind her back.
Yeah. You know, honestly, again, Galadriel doesn't even need to be in this season. She doesn't do much.
Isn't
could
this
have
the Rings of Galadriel?
The
Season
Rings
1.
of Galadriel.
Season 1. See, I'm actually starting to think that maybe season 1 was more about Galadriel. Season 2 seems more about Elrond.
Does it?
Maybe it seems like more about Elrond than it does about Galadriel. Do you not think so? Galadriel's very minimal in this. And she's constantly getting put in her place. So, I don't know.
All right, you've convinced me. This
She
was an
hasn't taken-
amazing show.
She didn't take a volcano to the face and survive. The only time she was ever a badass was when she fought the orcs and an elf fighting
lost.
orcs. Yeah, well, and she lost because there was too many of them. But you know, like elves can fight orcs, so it should be okay. But I do think that season 2 focuses more on Elrond than Galadriel, which I like. Because again, I don't think that Galadriel needed to be in this season. And you know, you could remove her and it wouldn't really take away much from the story.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I can't name one significant thing she's done this entire season.
Not-
Except get
nada.
kidnapped.
Except get kidnapped. And that could have been a contrivance that, you know, like you could have done that in many different ways. If you wanted the scene where you had Adar sit down with Elrond, which to me felt like a superfluous scene. And it was only really useful in the idea that, like, yeah, you guys probably should just team up with Adar and take down Sauron.
I mean, it is against Sauron, so I mean,
right.
why wouldn't you?
Because elves hate orcs more
I
than
get
anything.
that.
Yeah.
But don't you hate Sauron more?
No,
Apparently not. Apparently
I
not.
mean, but wouldn't you?
You should. Yeah.
That's like, I mean, I guess I shouldn't make the comparison, but that's
They
if all the little hats got together against Satan. Wouldn't that just make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, all the little hats, if they got together against Satan.
We get it.
That's a very
No. I wasn't trying to incite a thing. I was just trying to say, you know, because there's 2 different groups of little hats. And if they all got together and it was against Satan, wouldn't that just make sense though?
Yeah, I just think there's a few more understanding issues there, which is why I kind of froze. Like,
the most
I don't think
expedient decision would be team up with Adar and then deal with the orcs afterwards.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but this is one of those notions where you remember that common sense isn't common. And what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander. And because people know that, they're going to assume that just because it's kind of like the Adar situation, right? Like, hey, I want to join up with y'all so we can fight Sauron. But what's your king gonna do with my people after that whole thing?
Hey,
Yeah.
we'll deal with that when we get to it.
Yeah.
Let's do
It
this
was the
first.
same. It was the same thing with Jon Snow and the Wildlings, right? We need to team up together in order to fight the Night King. Like that's just the way. It's a very tired motif, but it is the most logical. I think it just doesn't work for the plot because they don't want the orcs fighting with elves at this point because that would be kind of stupid. Unfortunately, and it would if the orcs and the elves just started fighting together. That probably would be pretty dumb too.
No arguments.
Yeah.
I'm saying Prime. Nah, that's no, that's solid. Okay, well, let's get to a couple of things that are happening in Khazak Doom. Khazak Doom.
They ain't
Prince
necessarily
Durin.
got to fight together. They could just not kill each other.
I mean, no, they kind of have to fight together if we're gonna stay on that for a minute. They definitely have to fight together. Sauron is the entity that they both are fighting against, and both of the people who kind of are heads of these
Look,
factions understand.
you,
No, hold on, wait. Just reality. They understand it's Sauron. I think what's happening is the elves are what's the word I'm looking for there? I think they're underestimating Sauron. Whereas the orcs and Adar know exactly what they're getting into. They know there is
Well,
no
they
one
killed him
faction
last
and no one.
time.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
you kind of have to have like a distraction round-away bout of getting this done. You can't attack him head on and expect to win.
No.
I think
Right.
that's more so the case, and it's not being discussed. And so the elves who are basically about to demolish their ranks in this whole situation because the orcs have bodies to spare, but they also outnumber the elves either way,
based on what?
based on what we've seen and been shown.
Oh,
Also, based on all of the orc civilization is here in Middle Earth, whereas the elves have what are they, Valar and all these other
Yeah.
places that they exist. Valinor, thank you.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering where the hell the wood elves were too. By the way, Arendir's people, they should have an army.
Did they get wiped
Linden,
out? Isn't that what he said?
I don't think so. The wood elves. I mean, Legolas is a wood elf, and Galadriel goes to the wood elf area. I think her husband is a wood elf. So, I mean, I don't understand where they are in this whole story. And apparently, Linden is the only elven kingdom that has a army, and it looks like it's only like 1,000 elves.
was it even that many?
Probably less, maybe more like 400 elves. I don't know. It wasn't very many, that's for sure. You would think you need more. Then
Well,
again, are there elf kids? Oh, there were elf kids in
There were elf
Region, right?
kids. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Well, who knows? Anyways,
none of that was very clear.
no.
Yeah. That's the point of us doing this, so we can make some clarity out of the stuff that they won't explain in their own creation.
I refuse to give them unpaid storylines advice.
Well, things that are already out there. The next thing that happens is King Durin is rallying. Prince Durin is rallying the troops, but King Durin decides that since Narvi and his boys ain't gonna fight for him, he gonna get his axe himself, and he went and basically attacked the miners and Disa, who was down there. And this is when Prince Durin finds out that he has to keep the army in Khazak Doom, or there might not be a Khazak Doom to return to.
Yeah.
As Nick alluded to a little earlier, they about to let the Balrog out that thing because King Durin down there hacking away by himself, and between the ring and his willpower, he gonna put a dent in some shit.
You mean they couldn't put that old man in 4-point restraints on his bed?
Nah.
Not with the ring on. Yeah, not with the ring on.
Because the ring makes him extra strong.
Yeah. Clearly.
Yeah.
You didn't see the way he backhanded Prince Durin down the stairs?
No. I didn't see that.
He gave him the 1-inch backhand, and boy flew.
Mhm.
You like how I did that? You like that string together?
It's
But he
got a
did.
quick pam.
He really did, though.
It's strong, that's for sure. Yeah, so Durin decides that he cannot go to the elves' aid, and this is what sort of rebroils the tension between the elves and the dwarves, because Elrond has told everybody that come the first light, the elves should be coming from the north, and of course they do not show up. So,
And Elrond is shooketh.
yep, Elrond looks like
You mean like when
he's-
the Rohirrim were gonna show up in the north at dawn?
No, that was to the east. Thank you very much, because
Oops.
Gandalf used the rising sun to blind the orcs when he came down the hill. All right, so that was a tactical move. They came from the north because Khazad Dûm is north of
I
Eregion.
stand corrected.
Yeah.
Funny how that's similar though.
Of course it's similar because they want to make tie-ins to the Lord of the Rings. I don't really care about that type of thing.
Oh, did I skip that?
What did you skip?
Oh, I did kind of skip. Galadriel does escape. We skipped that. Well, technically that happens right after we find out about the Khazad Dûm thing, so I guess I didn't really skip it.
Yeah, she escapes, and then she sees that they're burning their dead, and that Arendir kind of saves her a little bit.
Yeah, Arendir more than a little bit saves her, in my opinion, because that would have them fighting would have caused a bigger ruckus.
And Galadriel makes another bonehead decision where she says, "Oh, don't shoot him right now," where you have a clear line of sight where you could put an arrow into his eyes.
Straight through, right.
Just wait a little bit.
Just wait a little bit so he can kill you.
Why? Yeah, so he can kill you. Exactly.
Because she's a bundle of great ideas.
She's really got every bad idea in the book, which makes you wonder how she becomes so wise at the end of it. Maybe it's because she makes all the bad decisions in this series.
Like a scientist. Yep.
Yeah.
Just like a scientist. All of these failures led to my success.
Right. That's gonna be a lot of success at the end, then, I guess. Yeah. So Arendir does not kill Adar when he has the moment, which is kind of dumb. And of course, when they meet on the battlefield, Adar totally whoops Arendir because apparently Adar has super strength as well.
Well, because remember he says the Uruk that were kidnapped, all the ones that were kidnapped and taken to Morgoth and changed, they were all like top tier warriors to begin with.
Right.
And then they were bestowed upon with this dark, eviler power that made them stronger. And it's like, bro, so they were made, what was it, 9 or 12 of them from the beginning? They expected
13,
this 9 or 13. They expected them to run through the ranks of all the elves to begin with. That's how strong they are.
Yeah. Interesting.
That was before they had the orcs and the Uruk working together. They were just the front line of they were just the special forces, essentially.
Yeah.
So that he I think the only person that can probably fight him, according to the way you guys have explained all of this to me, is the king.
Gil-galad sucks. He didn't do anything.
I agree.
He showed up late, and then
isn't he supposed to be like badass MacGuffin guy?
He should be badass. I mean, I do like that he has like a weird spinny spear thing that he has, but yeah, he just shows up late anyways. And kind of
does he even look like he's tough in this?
No, he doesn't.
Like, do you like let me rephrase it.
No, he should be yoked.
Do you buy it that he's a tough guy?
No, he should be like super jacked. He should be like the only jacked elf. That would be hilarious.
Because I mean, he just looks really soft.
He does look soft. That's for sure. And you know, the elves are supposed to have softer features anyways, but it would have been hilarious if he was like super yoked. Yeah, his gigantic muscles.
I am the king for a reason.
They could call him King Giga Chad instead of Gil-galad.
King Giga Chad.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, you know, so Don Lemeless is definitely not dead.
No, for sure not.
He got stabbed. He got stabbed in the sweet spots where you know you can still live. So
even as an elf,
he'll be okay. I'm sure Galadriel will pick him up from the battlefield and nurse him to health.
Oh, for sure. They got some special ointment for him. So
Rub
now
some
this is
Tessin on it.
put a little tussin on it. It'll be all right.
Yep.
Well,
Oh, that's all
somebody's
right.
got to
Put
raise
some
his
tussin on it.
illegitimate son.
Is it a legitimate 20-year-old son? Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's got to raise him because you know.
He didn't. So now we get to Sauron telling Celebrimbor that his torment by Morgoth was our Morgoth's doing, but the torment that Celebrimbor is enduring is not of Sauron's doing, but of his own works. And this is when Celebrimbor lets Sauron know that you so good, you be fooling yourself, what?
Mhm.
Just be spitting that game and don't even realize even you caught in your own web. And yeah, as we said earlier, that was probably one of the coldest lines. But the concept of telling somebody that they have brung their own torment upon them, including the torment of the other people around them, and being right, like I think that's something that has to be said. Sauron's an asshole. He's evil. He's Sauron, but he's actually right in this situation.
I mean, he's right up to an extent, except for that he facilitated all the conditions for Celebrimbor
yeah.
to make that decision. So it's not, I mean, like,
He
it's a
manipulated it
disingenuous
all.
being. Yeah, of course.
Right. But that's why I'm saying I don't think either of them are being disingenuous. I just think the truth of the matter is they both wanted, like Celebrimbor said a little later when he's talking to Galadriel, they both kind of got what they wanted, which is something that we discussed last episode with Adar and Galadriel. Sauron
Yeah.
gives you what you want. The problem you don't realize is what you want fits into his plan.
Yes. And it'll always end up benefiting him more than you. Yeah. Well, of course, that's the Faustian bargain. So you're definitely going to have that element to it.
So Sauron is the same guy that meets Jack Johnson a bunch of years later.
Yeah, the at the crossroads, you sell your soul, and then it's a monkey paw situation.
Guitar player of all time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Celebrimbor chops his thumb off to get away from Sauron.
Yeah.
He takes the rings with him so that he can try to get them away from Sauron, which I guess is the smartest move he can do now that everything's said and done, because he couldn't destroy them. So
right. He tried.
He tried to destroy them, but now he needs to try to spirit them away so that Sauron can't find them. And that's when he gets thrown off the parapet, and then he wakes up with the guards around him, and Galadriel says, "Stop," because they were about to take him back to Sauron, because they're already turncoated for some reason. And and then she's like, "It's Sauron's fault. You need to reverse your turncoating and go be back to Celebrimbor." And so he gives the rings to Galadriel so that she can go sneak away with them while Celebrimbor faces Sauron one last time. And he goes to the tower, and the guards all got pretty easily. Again, with a flick of the wrist. They're all made to stab each other. And then the last guy, he chops his neck, slices his neck. And we don't really see what happens to Celebrimbor, do we?
Didn't he get exploded?
I don't know.
No, Celebrimbor is still alive, to my knowledge, at the end of this.
I think so.
Oh wait,
yeah.
no, I'm thinking when he left the thing, he
got
that explosion. He got hit with.
Oh
that.
yeah,
Right.
he just fell. Yeah. That's right before they find him laying there, and they basically write it off as all this old fuck.
Yeah.
But only to realize when Galadriel arrives, that's when he gets. I think that was the weirdest thing to me. When you find your lord on the ground, wounded and injured, with no finger, no thumb, no one appendage that's absolutely necessary for his line of work, and you don't have any questions. It's like, oh, here he is, like he's the town drunk. But then when Galadriel comes, it's like, oh yeah, this is the great Galadriel. She brung all this bullshit down on y'all. Her and her partner, Hellbrand, which now that I look back, his name is Sauron, and he came in as Hellbrand. He is the Hell. Like, come on, bro.
Branded in hell.
To be fair, it's Halbrand, but yeah, sure. It's close enough.
Not if I'm using any of their accents, it's definitely Hell.
Yeah, true. Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, Eartha Kitt.
I also
But,
don't really I also don't really think it's explained well enough how revered Galadriel is amongst the elves. I think that that's a lot of what everybody kind of critiques about her is like, why is everybody listening to her? Galadriel is supposed to have the most
she
light
Michael
of
Jordan this
Valinor.
shit.
Well, she's supposed to be the most reflective of the light of Valinor, and the elves worship the light of Valinor, and she is supposed to be the closest representation of that light of all the elves. So she's even back when they were in Valinor, she was thought of as the most beautiful elf in existence, and so she's always had a revered position among the elves.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't really translate that well because she's such a shit in the show.
In the show.
But like in the Lord of the Rings, I think that Kate Blanchett does it a lot better, where she shows sort of her elegance, but also the power and might that she can wield if she wanted to. Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything to add on the Galadriel thing, just being real.
That's all right.
So he cuts off his thumb. Oh, Galadriel wants to fight Sauron, but instead she takes the ring and dip out because that's what he asked her to do. Sauron kills all the soldiers, and then again he just kind of tells Celebrimbor, "Finish my shit, son. Now you finish this, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave.
Well,
I'm gonna let
he
you
told
be."
Sauron that the rings are gone,
Yeah.
Right.
so he can't.
Oh yeah,
finish
no,
them.
you're right. He tells him, "Get them back for me.
Yeah.
Bring them here."
Wow.
But then we see the giant orc, and Elrond and his team now goes from protecting the city and finding Sauron and sieging everything to simply taking down this one orc, and he loses a lot of good men and ladies in the process.
Yeah,
Are we going to talk about the giant troll at all?
That's what
It's
he
not
meant by the big
giant
orc.
orc or the troll, whatever.
The troll. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Yep.
The troll. It looks like an orc to me.
Really?
Yeah, well, the trolls are different, but yes, he was a tank. That's for sure.
He was definitely a tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like how he was just walking and scooping people up and biting their heads off. That was pretty cool.
Tossing them like they were
projectiles.
Yeah. Yeah. Torpedoing people at the building too. And also he's the one who bore a hole into the wall by yanking the device that they had. He was strong enough. But I was thinking like, hell, bring him from the beginning. What are we doing?
Yeah, you got to save that for your,
The best part was the attack on the mountain.
What do you mean?
When they attacked the mountain with the trebuchets.
At the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You going all the way back to the beginning?
I'm about to say we covered that early.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the war now.
Yeah.
The actual battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was stupid.
Yeah, we talked about that like 40 minutes ago though.
What was stupid?
Attacking the mountain.
Against the mountain.
Yeah.
Causing an avalanche to bring the rubble down to block the river?
To block the river so that they could try and pass the riverbed that wouldn't be bogged down and completely sloshed to bring siege engines across it and troops too. That didn't make sense.
You're saying you think the ground would be too soft from the wage war?
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Okay, that's a reasonable. Yeah, I was trying to figure out where you were going with that. That's a reasonable critique. I was confused. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, do you think they were just shooting at the mountain to shoot at the mountain? Like, no, you saw that, right?
Yeah, it's obviously to dam up the river because they can't swim because orcs can't swim.
But you wouldn't be able to. I strongly believe that you would not be able to slog those other siege engines. What do they call that thing that was attacking the wall?
Yeah, that's what they called it. A siege engine.
But the orcs have superhuman strength, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the composition of the riverbed too. I mean, I've been in rivers before where the floor wasn't like mud.
Yeah, maybe it's all rock.
It is possible. Yeah, it is possible to have a riverbed that's not just sludge and quicksand. Again, here we go with another rule. Now, if they had gotten caught in the river, that would have been great.
As long as you recognize that the quicksand thing applies.
Yes,
Mhm.
it does. Definitely
Okay.
applies here. Yep. It
It
definitely
exists.
does.
All we needed was for the
There are
troll to get
rules for a
rabies, and we
reason.
would have had the trifecta.
The troll
Man, that
was
would have been
rabies. Are you kidding me?
amazing. Yeah.
I mean, he
was,
did get hit in the belly.
yeah, it was pretty rabid, that's for sure.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking he was rabid. Like he was. There was no way to control him. That thing was just moving forward until it couldn't.
Well, apparently they were able to control him long enough to release him.
Yeah, no, he was able to speak. Remember when he went to Adar's camp and had a conversation. So he's not
True.
necessarily rabid. He seems like because like the trolls in the Hobbit talk too, but the
Right.
cave troll in Lord of the Rings doesn't talk. So there might be certain levels of intellect for different types of trolls, I guess.
They needed a Witcher.
They needed a Witcher. They did indeed.
As we said earlier, the High King arrives. He don't do nothing.
No.
Thorville, what is his name? Vorhill. Vorhill returns injured, arrows in him, no doors behind him. Elrond is shooketh, and Durin ain't coming. But he keeps saying, Durin will come. Durin will come. Durin will come.
Nope.
I couldn't
Durin.
help but laugh at that part.
Bro, he looked like he
Nah.
was straight out of Girl Interrupted when doing that shit.
It's like a little kid waiting for his dad to pick him up for fishing.
Papa's
And he just
coming.
never comes. Yeah. He'll be here any minute, I promise. He said he was coming today. He said. Yeah, but no, he
said he's
doesn't
coming.
obviously. Yeah. He obviously doesn't show up, and that's where they basically all is lost because you only have like 12 elves fighting off the entire army of orcs.
Right. And right. That's what I wrote down. Few elves remain, but the core of the orc army is on siege. And how does it all end? Adar snatches that pretty little ring from around Elrond's neck
Yep.
and lets him live.
That sounded
Bruh.
really messed up in my head just now.
I'm
That's
sure
all
it
right.
did.
Well, what's funny about it is technically he's still a elf, isn't he?
Adar? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just
So-
a corrupted elf.
The ring would have, I would think, would have some kind of effect on him as well if he puts it on.
Yes, but I don't think he understands that it's also Sauron's corruption. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
no. Yeah, I don't think
So
so.
he could very well put it on and then get corrupted by Sauron. Well, I guess we'll have to see. Who knows? Galadriel will have to kill him so that she can get her ring back, obviously.
Gil Adriel.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, she definitely got to go get busy with
Because
him now.
what I think is going to happen is
go.
that she's gonna flee, but then realize that she needs to go back and help.
Mhm.
And then, she gets her ring back, but then Sauron gets the 9 rings because he's
I
going to
actually
have to go
think-
give them to the men.
Right. I actually think that she's gonna somehow stupidly think like, oh, I'll try one of these rings on and put on like multiple of the man's rings because they don't have the same effect on her that
Uh-uh.
I forget what she named her ring, but her ring does.
Oh,
So
she gonna
because
put
they're
them
made
all
from-
on one on each finger.
I mean,
Yeah,
basically,
like the Mandarin.
I was just about
Right.
to say like the
Yeah.
Mandarin. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and that only makes sense to me again because they're made for men; they're not made for elves. So I'm assuming the enchantments on them would be a little different when she puts them on versus when humans, a pure human, versus if Elrond put one of those on.
Well, I think we see what happens really is that they just gain invisibility and they have the ability to see Sauron's true form.
That's all those rings do.
Yeah, which is kind of why when you get like the Lord of the Rings, you have the Nazgul. Those are the 9 men that took the rings
Mhm.
from Sauron. And I think Isildur is one of them, right?
No,
No?
No.
Isildur is
killed.
not one of them. He gets killed. Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have the Nazgul
and
they're able to-
he had the one ring, but he ended up getting killed.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah, so I think they get corrupted by the rings very quickly. I don't think it's as slow as the elves or the dwarves. Especially since humans have such short lifespans, I think it happens to them very quickly.
Mhm.
Or else how would Sauron use you if you take half your lifetime just being convinced?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Well, that's
that
it.
is where we end. Adar snatching that thing, taking that necklace away from Nunu, aka Elrond.
Cue the death metal music.
Cue the Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin intro.
There you go. There you go.
That's right.
All right. Well, okay.
All right.
We're still
all right.
going. All right. Anything else, gents?
Honestly, I want there to be more, but aside from Sauron's telekinetic powers and
Illusion magic.
right,
Illusion
and
magic. Yeah.
well, the illusion magic that's used on Elrond's friendship. That no, there's really nothing to talk about when it comes to the what is it called? The Bolgar?
Balrog.
Balrog? Yeah, there's nothing to talk about
Yeah,
there.
they're probably not going to bring him out until the end of maybe the next episode.
Wait a
Well,
minute,
but
that was
either
in
way-
Moria.
I know. I think Moria and Khazad Doom are connected, though.
I think that they don't have the licensing to use the names.
Well, Khazad Doom is I believe. I'm gonna look this up because that was one thing that was bothering me too. Because
I thought about it, but I wasn't gonna say anything. I wasn't gonna mention it, but
yeah,
felt
I do need
compelled.
to brush up on my Middle Earth maps because I really don't know the topography.
Right. Because the Mines of Moria is where the Balrog is in the Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so
mean-
yeah, Khazad Doom and Moria are the same thing.
Oh.
The term Khazad Doom refers to Moria.
Okay.
Moria is the Elvish name, and Khazad Doom is the Dwarvish name.
Gotcha. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Fine then.
Now we know.
Then we know that it's gonna fall no matter what.
Oh yeah, of course it
Yeah.
is. Yep. The
But the
Balrog
story,
that cometh.
we got to catch up to Lord of the Rings, so you guys kind of already know what's gonna happen.
Yep.
But
Because
it's
Gimli
still-
didn't even know that Moria was even destroyed, which is odd to me.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
odd. But he might. I don't know if Gimli was from Moria. I don't know
No,
if
he wasn't.
No, yeah, right. He's from another
But
mountain.
I just thinking back on it now, it's like it's odd that he didn't know that they had already been wiped out, and clearly it had been hundreds of years that they had been wiped out.
Yeah, probably even 1,000 years. So we might not even get the Balrog at all, or maybe it'll be at the end of the series. Because
We
it
might
wouldn't
not
make
get to see
sense.
it.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to have him come out now because you're right. Khazad Doom can't be abandoned for 1,000 years and then have Gimli be like, no, you know. So
But
yeah, I
then
guess
again,
we'll have
they
to
don't
see.
really they're playing real fast and loose with the time
they
and
are.
the space.
Yes, they are definitely.
So-
that. All right, gents. Anything else that we wanted to add before we let this one go?
Billions of dollars.
They better step this shit up. That's what I want to add.
Yeah, one more episode left. So
Must
we'll
be-
see
it
how
must be
they wrap it up.
2.5 hours.
Nah, it'll be about the same amount of time. I think they're gonna wrap up the battle. They'll wrap up a little bit of Sauron. I don't even know. Like, we didn't even get Nori or the Istar or Elendil or Isildur or Numenor, none of that stuff. So I have no idea how
Right.
you're gonna tie in all of those things in the last episode. They might just
happened
not
to Tom?
bring.
Uh-huh.
What happened to who?
I'm gonna say what happened to Tom Bombadil? Where's the
Oh,
Black
he's done.
Wizard?
Yeah, the
we
Black-
know that, but he kind of just disappeared after that whole thing with the wand.
Yeah, the staff. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know if the E-Star is going to get his staff yet. They might save that for the next season, honestly. Who knows?
I say, will he actually meet the Black Wizard, or will that be,
I mean, it is his fate to fight Sauron and the Black Wizard, so we'll
are
see.
the stores gonna stay? Like, bruh, what are, there's so much.
Yeah,
so
the
much-
Stoors. Somebody's
Stores.
got to get to the Shire at some point, so
Hey,
I wouldn't.
can't say that.
Oh yeah, whatever the name they called it some other name. I think that that's where Nori's going to end up going.
They got
and then
Nori
she's going to
stopping
be
at the stores.
yeah. Nori's going to be the first colonizer of the Shire.
Damn.
Mark my words on that one. All right,
Oh, they're
gents.
Christopher Canori.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you thought of this episode 7 of the Rings of Power season 2. Is it terrible, awful? Is Tolkien dead? Is Star Wars dead? Is everything woke? Is it all terrible? Is it Guy Ladriel? Is it awful, awful, awful? MCU? Or is not so bad? Let us know. We'd love to hear your comments down below. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week to review episode 8, and we're going to throw in a movie review next week too, so be on the lookout for that. Until then, everybody, we appreciate all of you out there. And for Screen Time Continuum, I am Nick.
I am Keelan.
And I'm Mike.
Thanks a lot, guys.
I need some
Mike,
Tabasco sauce.
You kind of stepped on his excellent bars he had there. He was getting it.
I got hot sauce in my purse.
Oh, shit. And he lost it.